Our next man of valor comes from the romance genre. Yeah, I know, but don't worry, his story is not a silly chick flick. Boaz was not a man of war either, but his character and actions speak volumes and encourage us in our pursuit of being men of valor. This is episode 3 of the Men of Valor series, Boaz, Appreciation. Boaz lived in one of the worst times of Jewish history. The book of Ruth in the scriptures begins this way. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi. But Elimelech died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These took Moabite wives, the name of one Ruth. They lived there about 10 years, and both the sons died. The days of the judges were just horrible. As the book of Judges records, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. After all God had done for Israel in bringing them out of Egypt, through the Red Sea, through the wilderness, and into their own land with miraculous victories, Israel turned their back to God, and everyone did their own thing in their own way. And the result was devastating. God sent famines, enemies raided them, and harmful sins crept into their lives, homes, and families. Fortunately, God raised up leaders called judges to help deliver his people from their misery. But during this time, many gave up on God, including one man, Elimelech, who left God's land of promise and provision with his family. His sons then married foreign wives against God's clear instructions for his people. And there in Moab, he and his sons died, leaving Naomi and the daughters-in-law, one of which was named Ruth, stranded in a foreign land. Shamed and embarrassed, chapter 1 of the book of Ruth ends this way. Naomi and Ruth, the Moabite, returned from the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. It is here that we are introduced to Boaz, and the contrast is sharp. Chapter 2 begins like this. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened to come to the field belonging to Boaz. Boaz was a worthy man of faith. He had remained in the land of God's promise, and despite the difficulties of the times, had allowed God to provide an abundant farm with servants to help. Listen to the short exchange that speaks volumes between Boaz and his workers. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, "The Lord be with you." And they answered, "The Lord bless you." This was the time of the judges. People didn't talk like that. Can you hear the respect he had for his workers and the respect the workers had for Boaz? Here is our first lesson God wants us to learn from Boaz. Worthy men of valor, despite their circumstances, appreciate people and are a blessing to others. Are you a worthy teammate? Do you appreciate your workout partners? Do you say a good word to them? Are you a worthy brother and son? Do you appreciate your siblings? Do you give them words of appreciation? Who else is in your life that you need to express gratitude to? And here is a way you know if you genuinely appreciate others. Do they return the blessing, and is your character respected by others? Of course, you will not always receive the respect deserved, but when you live out your faith with appreciation for others, it helps build a culture of respect and blessing. Championship teams are built around a healthy presence of appreciation. Don't give in to a rotten culture. Build and shape culture for God's glory. The next lesson we learn from Boaz's life comes from his interaction with Ruth, and we see the love story really develop. The scriptures say, Then Boaz said to Ruth, Now listen, my daughter, do not go to glean in another field, or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? But Boaz answered her, All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Then she said, "I have found favor in your eyes, my lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." Boaz respected women. That is the second lesson God wants us to learn from Boaz. Worthy men of valor respect women and make kindness a priority. The times of the judges were much like our culture today. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Toxic masculinity takes advantage of women, treats them as objects of lust, and flaunts power over women. This results in major distraction, a lifetime of regret, and damaged lives. Many talented athletes have ruined their career and the lives of women and children by this kind of masculinity. However, men of valor reject that culture and seek to have God's perspective. Do you see a woman as a sister made in the image of God? Do you see her unique value and dignity as a woman? Do you say words of appreciation to your mother, your sister, and your friends for who they are and not just what they do? Do you guard your mind, eyes, and words from making women merely objects of lust? Guys, God made women so much more than that. And just like Boaz told his workers, keep your hands off. Until you are married, keep your hands off someone else's daughter or future wife. Additionally, Boaz expressed words of appreciation for the kindness that Ruth had shown her mother-in-law, and he expressed appreciation for her faith. You see, Ruth had been willing to leave her home and had bought into the faith of the God of Israel and the Scriptures. Here is what she had told Naomi earlier. "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." Gosh, that is beautiful. And that was most precious to Boaz. This is masculinity at its best. Guys, look for godly women. Show them kindness. Let them know you appreciate them. And stay away from women that lead you away from God. As things began progressing between Boaz and Ruth, her mother-in-law Naomi recognized it and encouraged their romance. The book of Ruth, chapter 3, continues. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead." Naomi also said to her, "The man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers." You see, God's Old Testament instructions to Israel provided for younger widows like Ruth to be provided for. Close relatives who were eligible were able to acquire their property, marry them, and provide for them. These men were called redeemers, and Boaz was in line to be a redeemer for Ruth. Following Naomi's instructions and some ancient traditions, Ruth requested that Boaz accept this opportunity. Chapter 3 includes their conversation. She said, "Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." Boaz responded, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. Do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. If he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you." I guess that is what you call a good old-fashioned Old Testament marriage proposal. Ha! So, this budding romance had a problem. Someone else was first in line to redeem and marry Ruth. But Boaz was not fazed. He leaned into the problem and faced it head on. In the final chapter of the book of Ruth, Boaz took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, "If you will redeem it, redeem it. If you will not, tell me, for I come after you." Then the Redeemer said, "I cannot redeem Ruth and her inheritance for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take the right of redemption yourself." So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and she bore a son. Then the women said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer." They named the son Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Yep, Boaz became King David's great-grandfather, and thus played a key role in the gospel story of the Scriptures. How cool is that? But even more than that, Boaz provides us with an incredible picture of how Jesus Christ wants to redeem us and include us into his family if we ask. Here is the final lesson from Boaz. Men of valor appreciate redemption. Men of faith embrace the inclusion to God's family that comes by accepting the forgiveness that Jesus Christ offers. Real men humbly admit they need and appreciate Jesus. What a remedy for the ugliness of pride appreciation brings. And what a motivator for wholesome living. Christian athletes have the best motivation in the world through what Christ has done for us. It gives us inspiration to give our best because he gave his best. Thanksgiving should be every week, every day, every practice, and every match. And that concludes Men of Valor, Episode 3, Boaz, Appreciation.